Right, so in our very first story, and news coming to us in the last couple of hours, Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor, has resigned his office. And it's just breaking news in the last couple of hours. I have Kojo Yangsing. He's a host of the Super Morning Show. He's joining us, and he has details first of the letter of the press release that was put out by Martin Amidu, and the letter that he sent to the president indicating his resignation. Thank you very much, Kojo. So I want us to go, first of all, let's go through the letter, the press release that was put out by Martin Amidu.
Both documents have lots of information, starting with the press release, which had the heading, Resignation of Appointment as Special Prosecutor with Immediate Effect, Martin A.B.K. Amidu, Esquire. It says, this is to inform the public that I resigned from my position as the Special Prosecutor of the Office of the Special Prosecutor with immediate effect upon the submission of my letter of resignation with reference number and so forth, dated the 16th of November 2020, which was received at the Office of the President at 15:15 hours this afternoon. I should not ordinarily be announcing my resignation to the public myself, but the traumatic experience I went through from the 20th of October until the 2nd of November 2020, when I conveyed in a 13-page letter to the conclusions and observations on the analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment on the report on Ejapa Royalties Limited, transactions and other matters related thereto, to the President as Chairman of the National Security Council, cautions against not bringing my resignation as the Special Prosecutor with immediate effect to the notice of the Ghanaian public and the world. In undertaking the analysis of the risk of prevention of corruption and anti-corruption assessment, I sincerely believed that I was executing an independent mandate under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017 and the Office of the Special Prosecutor Operations Regulation 2018, LI 2374. The reaction I have received from daring to produce the Ejapa Royalties Limited transactions anti-corruption report convinces me beyond any reasonable doubt that I was not intended to exercise any independence as the Special Prosecutor in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. My position as a Special Prosecutor has consequently become clearly untenable. It is essential for me to state, for the purpose of the records and contrary to public perceptions, that my appointment letter was received on 5th February 2020, almost 2 years after my appointment. The copy addressees made no efforts to honor any of the conditions of appointment in terms of emoluments and benefits of the appointment ever since my warrant of appointment was issued on 23rd of February 2018 to the date of my letter of resignation. I accepted the offer on 10th of January 2018 to be nominated to be Special Prosecutor because Mr. President and Ghanaians knew I have been an anti-corruption crusader all my life and not an anti-corruption entrepreneur. This explains why I have never put the emoluments and benefits of the office as central to my commitment and my passion for the establishment of an independent, effective, efficient, and impartial anti-corruption office of the Special Prosecutor before the end of the first term of Mr. President. This has not been possible for several reasons. 2 more paragraphs, easy. The Deputy Special Prosecutor has also not been paid any emoluments since her appointment, and there is the need to redress that situation for her now that I am out of the way. The events of 12th November 2020 removed the only protection I had from the threats and plans directed at me for undertaking the Ejapa Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Assessment Report and dictates that I resign as the Special Prosecutor immediately. Fear is the enemy of change, and I am prepared from the vacuum created on the 12th of November 2020 to meet the threats of my demise as the price to pay for serving my country without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I acted professionally throughout in the discharge of my duties, and my conscience is the anchor of my strength to face any consequences. I am grateful to every Ghanaian for both the support and criticism during my tenure. When the real facts of my tenure become well known to the public in the future, history may judge me kindly. Ghana first. Israel.
All right, so that's the press statement that was put out by the prosecutor, the special prosecutor, Martin Amidu. And he indicated in the very last paragraph that when the real reasons or the real facts of his resignation come to bear, or when the real facts of my tenure become well known to the public in the future, history may judge me kindly. And interestingly, we have a letter that he's written to the president. And so we'll be sharing that with you, and hopefully that may bring to bear some of the things he sought to put out, which were not contained in the press release. We'll share that with you. But right now we're going to Jubilee House, where we have Elting Brobe, the presidential correspondent. Elting, now I spoke with you about an hour ago, and I was trying to find out if we have any reaction from the presidency. Do we have any reaction now?
We still don't have any reaction from the presidency, but what I can tell you first up is that a reaction may be coming very soon. That is the information I've picked from the corridors of power, that a statement is being worked on, and we're likely to have a reaction from the president very soon. And the reaction may talk about acceptance of the resignation, and then the way forward. It is unclear whether the statement will respond directly to all the issues raised in the former, if I should put it that way. Martin Amidu's letter announcing his resignation, whether the statement for the president will react to all the issues that I've said. There's one school of thought that is telling me that the government may take opportunity of this resignation letter that has come from the special prosecutor and to tell Ghanaians what government has done from the day of inception, the establishment of the office up to now, government allocation in terms of resourcing the office, budgetary allocation, and everything that government has done to make life comfortable and make work easy for the special prosecutor. And another school of thought was telling me that the letter may simply acknowledge receipt of the letter and then express regrets at the decision taken by the special prosecutor. It may wish him well. It's unclear which one of these will come out eventually. But what I'm picking up is that government in the coming hours or tomorrow will respond directly, one by one, what has been done so far since the establishment of the special prosecutor, what they've done for the special prosecutor, the challenges and the frustration they encountered in making sure that the office is up and running effectively. And this particular statement may also respond to the recruitment of personnel to the office of the special prosecutor and the fact that government had no role, and that the appointment or secondment of people as investigators to the office of the special prosecutor was at the behest of the special prosecutor, and that government cannot be blamed for the fact that some of the investigators may have compromised themselves during their duty. So this is what I'm taking from the corridors of power, and now we are waiting to see the mode and shape in which this statement will come from the presidency issue.
All right, thank you very much, Elting Brobe. He's our presidential correspondent. So I indicated to you that there's also a letter that Mr. Martin Amidu wrote to the president announcing his resignation. Kojo Yangsing is still here with me, and he has that letter as well. So, Kojo, you take us through this other letter.
Israel, this is a 3-page letter, and it has a lot more detail behind Mr. Amidu's decision, written in what you might think is strong language.
All right.
The heading is Resignation of Appointment as Special Prosecutor, is addressed to the President. Kindly refer, Your Excellency, to your letter with reference number as follows, dated the 30th of January 2020 and hand-delivered to me in person on the 5th of February 2020, formally offering my appointment as the Special Prosecutor. I also refer to my letter dated 17th February 2020, accepting Your Excellency's offer of appointment as the Special Prosecutor, made in your said letter. The purpose of this letter is to convey to Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Republic, that pursuant to Section 13, 8, and 10 of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959, and Article 1453 of the 1992 Constitution, I am resigning my position as the Special Prosecutor with immediate effect to enable Your Excellency to take steps to appoint a replacement to that position as required by law. The one condition upon which I accepted to be nominated as a special prosecutor when you invited me to your office on 10th January 2018 was your firm promise to me that you will respect and ensure same by your government for my independence and freedom of action as the special prosecutor. Several things have happened since then, but your reaction to my letter with reference number OSP as follows, dated 16th October 2020, which was delivered to you on 19th October 2020, conveying to you the conclusions and observations of the analysis of the risks of corruption and anti-corruption assessment of the Ejapa Royalties Limited transactions, convinces me beyond every reasonable doubt that you had labored under the mistaken belief that I could hold the office of the special prosecutor as your poodle. After receiving my letter under reference on 19th October 2020.
All right, Kojo, I wanted you to just quickly backtrack to this particular paragraph because it is quite interesting. So just go over that again, the part about the poodle.
Yes. So he says, several things have happened since then, but your reaction to my letter with reference number as follows, dated 16th October 2020, which was delivered to you on 19th October 2020, conveying to you the conclusions and observations of the analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment of the Ejapa Royalties Limited transactions, convinces me beyond every reasonable doubt that you had labored under the mistaken belief that I could hold the office of the special prosecutor as your poodle.
All right. In other words, he says, I come to the conclusion, or you were of the impression, you, the president, were of the impression that I was going to work as your poodle.
That's it.
All right, let's continue.
After receiving my letter under reference on the 19th of October 2020, you ordered your chief of staff on 20th October 2020 to deliver an urgent message personally to me the same day. When she could not reach me on the telephone, she decided to invite me in writing in her letter with reference number as follows, dated 20th October 2020, stating that, quotation marks, open, I have been directed by His Excellency the President of the Republic to deliver an urgent message personally to you today, 20th October 2020. I am looking forward to seeing you as requested. Quotation ends. I received the Chief of Staff's letter the next morning, 21st October 2020, and reported to her office as requested. The message she delivered to me was that you had instructed that I was not to do anything about my report on the Ejapa Royalties transaction until I had met you on Friday, 23rd October 2020. You were away in the Volta region when I met the Chief of Staff. I met Your Excellency in your office in the afternoon of 23rd October 2020, and I underscored the fact that my letter dated 16th October to you was sent out of the necessary courtesy of prior information to your office as President of the Republic and the Commander-in-Chief responsible for national security. I also underscored the fact that the analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment was conducted professionally. It could not be reviewed by the Minister of Finance or yourself. And my letter was particularly not intended for you to direct me as to how to conduct the duties of my office. Your Excellency insisted that I should withhold any further action on the report for 1 week. I reluctantly agreed to your terms, but gave you notice immediately that I did not intend to continue as the special prosecutor because of your interference in the performance of my functions under the law. It's worth noting, Israel, this all happened on the 23rd of October. He is saying here that he actually informed the president he was going to resign on the 23rd of October. I'll continue.
Please do.
You eventually invited me to your office in the evening of Sunday, 1st November 2020, where I again asserted that I was not going to bargain over the independence of my functions as the special prosecutor. I refused to take the copy of the alleged comments from the Minister of Finance you offered me, as that would have compromised my independence as the special prosecutor. I also refused to shelve my report to enable you handle the matter, which explains my press release to the public on the morning of 2nd November 2020 and the follow-up with the distribution of the full 64-page Ejapa Royalties Transactions Anti-Corruption Assessment Report to the public. Unbeknown to you that I had published the full 64-page report to the public, you caused a press statement to be made based on my letter dated 16th October 2020 to you under reference, which sought to politicize and downplay the seriousness of the professional analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment reported by my office. It thus became abundantly clear to me that I cannot continue under your government as the special prosecutor because we disagree on the non-partisan independence of the special prosecutor in the performance of the functions of my office in preventing and fighting corruption and corruption-related offenses. The 64-page analysis of corruption and anti-corruption assessment report discloses several serious corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of which I intended to open full investigations as the special prosecutor. I cannot do that now after your political interference in the performance of functions of the office for 2 weeks from 20th October 2020 to 1st November 2020, culminating your directives on how the anti-corruption assessment report of the Ejapa Royalties Limited transaction by this office should be handled by the principal suspects disclosed by the anti-corruption assessment report. Again, an important point to note here is that he says the president was asking him to let his report be handled by the suspects that he had identified in the report.
That's unusual.
I'll continue. More importantly, Your Excellency was acting as a judge in your own cause in usurping my functions to take any independent follow-up actions on the anti-corruption assessment report when you knew from my 13-page letter of 16th October 2020 conveying the conclusions and observations of the anti-corruption assessment report to you that negative anti-corruption assessments had been made against the conduct of your office in the procedure adopted in granting the executive approval dated 24th March 2020 and your assent of the Minerals Income Investment Amendment Act 2020, Act 1024, on the 27th of August 2020, intended to retroactively impact the parliamentary approval of the transactions document granted on 14th August 2020, pages 31 to 33 and 52 to 53 of the full 64-page report submitted to you on 2nd November 2020 contained the detailed anti-corruption assessment on these matters. The totality of the foregoing interventions by you in my functions make my position as the special prosecutor untenable. If you don't mind, I'll summarize the rest.
Please summarize.
He goes on to talk about how he has been constrained in terms of resources and that he feels embarrassed. In fact, I want to read that part word for word because he says that the whole proceedings of my vetting for approval for appointment is still available online, and I am most disappointed to listen to it years down the line. He feels disappointed in himself for not being able to fulfill what he promised he would at his vetting. And it ends with this paragraph. I have delayed since 2nd November 2020 in submitting my letter of resignation to Your Excellency to enable me to formally facilitate a smooth transition from my tenure to the Deputy Special Prosecutors, who by law has to act as the Special Prosecutor for the meantime. She has also not been paid any emoluments since her appointment, and you may wish to redress that situation for her now that I am out of the way. Kindly accept, Your Excellency, my assurances of the highest consideration.
All right, thank you very much, Kojo Yankson, but I want you to stay with me because there's a bit more that we'd have to analyze. There have been a number of things that happened before we got to this point. It has to do with the report that he put out and some of the reactions that we got from the majority in Parliament as well as the NDC. But right now on the line, I have Bright So, who is with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. Thank you very much for joining us. So you have been fighting corruption for quite a while. I mean, the institution. What do you make of the resignation of the office of the special, or the resignation of the special prosecutor, and what he's had to say?
Good evening to you, Israel. And I know Youngson is on the line as well, so good evening to you and all your viewers and listeners. It's a bit of a mixed feeling for me. I think the challenges of the office, or the challenges are summarized by the now former special prosecutor, Mr. Amidu. He's always been open and he's spoken about them. He's never shied away from talking about the challenges facing him and his office. And so in that sense, I think the resignation does not surprise me so much. But you also have to look at the character of the man in the sense that this is one very determined, persevering sort of person. And if you look at the work he did on the way you make it certainly tells you, brings out that sort of quality for us. So in that sense that he's essentially quit his post is kind of surprising. But if you look at the issues we could infer from, you just read a portion. I was listening to while you were reading that particular document. I don't know if it was Youngson was reading that particular bit. But it would seem to me, what I'm inferring is that we've heard Mr. Amidu talk several times that, yes, there's been lack of collaboration and support from government in its entirety. But it's always praised the president, for supporting him. And it seems as though that's the one bit that he's always held on to, that he enjoys that support, so he's able to carry on his work. However, a Japan comes in and it seems to be the straw that broke the camel's back, in the sense that wherever there's some reprisal coming from, it seems it's coming from, in a sense, either the highest office itself or it's so near to the highest office that he probably feels does not have the one support, or from the highest places that he once held on to be able to carry out his work. And if you look at the statements coming out and you infer from those statements, that's a bit of what I'm getting from it. That once he felt that support was no longer there, then he felt his position also, or he acted in that capacity also, he could simply not continue his work in that regard.
All right, now, what all this actually means is that, yes, there may be people who are keen on fighting corruption, but corruption is also going to fight back, which is something that has been said always. Now, does it appear that we're ever going to win this fight against corruption?
No, of course. If you put the systems in place to be able to do that, you should be able to win the fight against corruption.
But this is a system that was put in place.
Like I think it was Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, former Nigerian minister, who wrote a book that fighting corruption is dangerous. It is dangerous. It always fights back. It always bites back. So it needs certain kind of characters to be able to withstand the threat and all of that comes with being in an arena like that. But again, you're also seeing that it's not just also about the institutions, and it's also about the leadership. So, for instance, for this government, in 2016, coming into power, the OSP was painted essentially almost as a panacea for corruption. And that's the institution that they were thinking about bringing in to be sort of a game changer as far as prosecuting and the hard part of corruption was concerned, which was the investigations and prosecution. Then somewhere along the line, it felt as if the office was being held up as though it is independent by itself, and anytime issues of support for the office came, issues of resources from the office came, that independence was put over its head as though this is the refrain, that they are independent, they do what they need to do, or they need what they have to do, sort of scenario. So in a way, the government sort of distance itself from the office, and therefore distance itself from the failure or success of the office in that sense. And then we've come to the extent where now the cases being picked up seem to be cases that are also at the very heart of government itself. And then we are getting this sort of a reaction. So it makes you really wonder, and you have rightly asked the question, can we ever win the fight? Because the same people who said we're going to fight it, who it appears, from what we are inferring, that have not given the necessary support for the office to go to work.
As far as you're concerned, what's the way forward, or what does it look like going forward?
We will have a new special prosecutor, at some point in time, whether it be end of this year or early next year. But I think if you look at the arena, really, for Mr. Amidu, all the challenges that he's faced, some of them are also in a sense, and I would like to admit it, in a sense also self-reflected. The personality has also been quite an issue. He's not been very good with interpersonal relationships. And you need that in the governance process, even for institutions that are apparently independent institutions. You need that to be able to get the resources you need to go to work. It's not about basically sucking up to people, but it's about once you go to work, you are sending letters asking for resources and for support. Those letters in the source sometimes do not get the work done. You need to be able to call and talk to the people. I don't think he's able to have that personality that allowed him to be able to work across the institutions needed, that's able to produce some result there. So we can hope that whoever the next special prosecutor is we can have a bit of not just the competence, but the personality also supposed to undertake work of that nature. But the concerns that he's raised will also be there. And we need to find some sense both to ensure financial independence for the office, not just in terms of making allocation in the budget that this goes to the office, but when does the money actually go, who releases the money to that particular office. And again, we're seeing what it seems he's alleging also might be political interference coming in, which was the reason why in producing the act, we put so many provisions in there, hoping that we want to stop any sort of political interference and give it true independence. So probably it begs the question, or we need to take a step back and say, well, did we really cover all the angles to give this sort of protection? Today we have one man who has resigned and who has come out clearly, even if it's not very clear, you can infer what the issues are. We may have other prosecutors in the future who may leave for very similar reasons, may not even know what the real issues are in there. So it makes us take a step back and evaluate again the office and see what should we really have done, what can we really do to improve upon such a critical office as this one.
All right, thank you very much, Brighto. Brighto is with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, and he was giving us his thoughts on the resignation of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. I'm coming back to you, Kojo. So, as I indicated earlier, there have been a number of things that have happened before we got to this point. Now, a number of things have also been made clear in the letter that Martin Amidu wrote to the president. Now, let's walk through some of the things that have occurred. First, we had the Special Prosecutor pronounce or put out a report or his view or the corruption risk assessment on the Japa royalties deal. Now, after that, then he also added a bit more, which had to do with the Airbus and a few others. And then there was the backlash. So take us through from then on.
Well, this letter to the president, the resignation letter, now puts things in perspective by way of timeline. It would appear that he first presented his report to the president with an intention of carrying out further actions, as in investigations of the individuals he had identified as quote-unquote suspects in his analysis. What he tells us in this letter is that following the submission of that letter to the president, it became apparent that there was a desire of the presidency to ask him to stay his hand, to hold on, while the issue is, in his words, handled.
Yeah.
This
and while he was being told to stay his hand, the public was also picking up all of this and saying that you should go a lot further. You shouldn't just end there.
That is because when he was asked to stay his hand, he reacted by releasing the statement. That's when the public got to know of the existence of the statement. He did that because the presidency was asking him to hold on, and he did not desire to do so.
Right.
So he says in his letter that unbeknown to the president, he issued the statement, which is why the president's statement, or the statement from the presidency, which came out around the same time, seemed to not really take much account of what was in Martin Amidu's report, because the president's statement was issued without the knowledge that the public was about to see the full report. You know, so following that, then of course the back and forth began. There was of course the explanation and justifications coming from the presidency and the government. Then there were the accusations coming from the opposition, and then civil society got involved in all this. And all through this, people were asking, well, Martin Amidu, why not prosecute? After all, you are the special prosecutor. Yes. But what we now realize is that he had been asked by the president, according to him and his resignation letter, not to do anything. So now we realize that after a week, 2 weeks of being asked to not take action, he realized, or he concluded, that his position is untenable because he no longer sees himself as independent if he can be asked by a president to not take action. And at that point, he issues his resignation.
You know what? Incidentally, just yesterday, the former Attorney General in ex-President Rawlings' administration, Dr. Yao Obeda-Samwa, he has been speaking about the work of the Special Prosecutor, and he has been speaking in relation to he's been speaking to the Airbus scandal, and he says he doubts the Special Prosecutor can actually go ahead to prosecute John Mahama, former President John Mahama. Let's listen to it.
He should be abrogated and thrown out. I mean, really, this is one of the most obscene acts, you know. I mean, the process, the people who were put on the board, the incentives that were given to people for the roles that they played, And then the whole idea, the economic aspect of it. I mean, after all, you were going to get about $120 million yearly from your minerals. Now, you've just somehow put all that together and, you know, put it out somewhere for so many years. You know, you would have been better off taking the $120 million every year for many years instead of, you know, coming out with a program whereby you would only be getting about $500 million. I mean,
I've listened to some of the analysis, and it says that within 2 years, if you look at the royalties we get in this country per year,
yes,
within 2 years we should be getting around the 500 million that we're staking our royalties against.
Yes.
And so, but you spoke about, you know, those on the board and all of that. Let's talk about Osafo Mafo's son, for example. Is it not a matter of merit qualification? He is one of those, and it's been said. Gabi Asare Tridako and others in the MPP have said that if he is qualified, let's let the person do it. What is the problem with that?
Well, was there open competition? That is the issue.
They suggest there was.
Well,
and that he qualified, having gone through the systems.
Well, they will have to demonstrate to us, because there are so many others who are qualified who never heard about it. You know, so I think that is where the problem is. Right. You know, but I think that that whole deal has to be thrown out. I mean, really, taking it back to Parliament is a waste of everybody's time.
The special prosecutor, though he was not meant to do this, also added that he suspects, in fact, to quote him, he surmises that government official one is John Dramani Mahama. I'm sure you followed the Airbus scandal and everything to do with it. How do you feel about that?
Well, there isn't any specific mention of him, of John Mahama. Although if you read the report and all that, it's kind of points at him. But you see, those who were held accountable in Britain were admitted responsibility, but on condition of more or less anonymity. I mean, they didn't have to mention that A got this or B got that, you know. But in any case, that whole project was under the NDC government, and somebody within the NDC government was responsible for getting that money. So, I mean, there's no way NDC can escape responsibility, you know, for it. I mean, so
there's no extricating the NDC from the...
No. I can't see how they can extricate themselves from that.
One thorny matter that has come up, and I subscribe to it, I feel that if Mr. Special Prosecutor, and he's called prosecutor for a reason, if he has enough grounds to believe that the former president is government official one, which would put him in a compromising situation, then the time is now, even before the elections, to follow the legal processes. But he has also said that it's a national security situation, and he feels he should allow the elections to go on. But what if the people of Ghana elect John Dramani Mahama to become president again? Is the special prosecutor now going to prosecute him, so to speak? What should be done before? Now, I want to take the legal mind on this one.
Yeah, but see, that is the thing. I have not concluded positively that it is John Mahama.
But if he were?
If he were, the question is, would you have the evidence to be able to prosecute him right now? You can't. You can only get the evidence from the British fraud office, and they will not be able to, they won't tell you that, you see. So it's going to be very difficult to prove your case, and that I think is the problem of Martin. I'm quite sure that if he had the evidence to prove his case, he would take action.
So you feel he doesn't have the evidence?
He doesn't. To get the evidence, you have to get it from the British, and they won't give it to you.
Right. Let's talk about this briefly before we get into Jerry John Rawlings, whom we're memorializing. The NDC lost monumentally in 2016 by some 800,000 votes. After that, there were moves to find out why the party lost and all of that. Do you feel the NDC, your party, and I know you at a brief moment left the NDC, formed the DFP, came back to join the NDC. Do you feel the NDC has learned the lessons it needs to have learned as a party ahead of election 2020?
Joynews Prime, and that was the former Attorney General, Dr. Yao Obed Asamoah. I still have Kojo Yangsing with me in the studio. Kojo, certainly we haven't heard the very last of this episode.
No doubt. We still have, of course, the inevitable response from government to look forward to, and then civil society will have a thing or two to say about it. Tomorrow, no doubt, on the Super Morning Show, we'll be digging into this and more.
And I actually believe that Martin Amidu is likely to come up with another epistle.
Well, would it not be in character for him to do so?
All right, thank you very much, Kojo Yangsing. But we posted this on our Facebook page in the last 2 hours, and there have been tons of reaction. Right now, if you look at it, right there on our Facebook page, we have 796 comments and 139 shares. That's 1,400 reactions. I'll be sharing some of the reactions with you much later on. But right now, we're taking a break here on Joynews Prime to bring you business news. Do stay tuned.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has hinted of a possible maintenance of the policy rate, which is the rate at which the Bank of Ghana lends to commercial banks. He made these comments after the Association of Ghana Industries called on his outfit to review the rate downwards. There is more in this report.
Industry Awards, dubbed Building Resilience and Local Capacity Thoughts After, was held over the weekend. The Association of Ghana Industries used the opportunity to call for a reduction in the policy rate. Vice President of the association in charge of small-scale businesses, Humphrey Eyim Dake, tells Joy Business a cut in the policy rate to single digits will enable SMEs compete fairly with their sub-Saharan African counterparts when the African Continental Free Trade takes off in January next year.
Building capacity is the most crucial issue, and therefore we urge the governor that regarding the financial reforms that had taken place recently, it's our wish to see the policy rates dropping to a single digit so that we can compete fairly with the Francophone countries who are neighbors, as well as the European countries. That becomes the basis of cost of funding being reasonable for the SMEs to build on their capacity and their managerial capacity.
Responding to the call by the association to reduce the policy rate, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, urged industry players to stay calm as the monetary policy rate will respond according to fiscal measures implemented to deal with the economic challenges.
We probably need to have patience to allow the system the system to consolidate itself and expect interest rates to go down consequently. And I say so because if you look at the profile of policy rates over the last 3 years, we have consistently gone down on the policy rates over the last 3 years. Till January this year, when we stopped at 14.5%, and the monetary policy rate has sort of stayed there. And there are reasons why they have stayed there. You're looking at the impact of the shock, and the impact of the shock, especially on the government's finances and the budget. So this is not the time to put the financing of the budget at risk by sort of going further down on the policy rate. And I think that as we move into 2021, when the fiscal challenges sort of moderated, one can reasonably expect the monetary policy rate to respond to those improvements.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank is set to commence its quarterly review meeting from Wednesday, the 18th of November, 2020. Nicholas Brown for Joy Business.
Now, exports to the UK market from Ghana are said to be under threat. This is due to some challenges on the part of government in reaching a new trade deal with its counterparts. George Raffi has more on the development that could result in some industries shutting down, leading to possible job losses.
Joy Business is learning that the current challenge has come about following the UK government's insistence that Ghana should roll over the trade agreement that it has with the European Union also for their market. That is a reciprocal deal that will ensure that all exports to the UK from Ghana will be duty-free and quota-free, while the same will apply to their exports to the Ghanaian market. But it has resulted in the UK government insisting that if Ghana fails to sign up to this proposed deal, then all exports to their market will attract additional duties and tariffs, making exports to that market very expensive for consumers in that country. But we are learning that the government of Ghana is not in support of this proposal. This because holding the current ECOWAS chairmanship, as well as having the headquarters of the African Free Trade Deal, it might send wrong signals to other members in the region. This is because they should be seen to be championing a multilateral move rather than a bilateral deal. But there appears to be a deadlock as none of the parties on the negotiating table is prepared to soften their stance. The UK is one of the biggest markets for most industries that are in the export business in Ghana. That is why they could be the hardest hit by this move. We understand that one of the big manufacturing firms in the country about their parent company direct them to start halting exports because of this challenge. This move may soon result in them shutting down, leading to some job layoffs, with others also expected to follow with a similar action. Some of these companies have argued that they are not prepared to pay these new tariffs because it will make them uncompetitive going forward.
And that's it for business. Sport is up next.
Real Smith and Inter Allies are currently playing in the Ghana Premier League, but that's not what I'll start with. They have signed a 370,000 Ghana cedi sponsorship agreement with Tampico for the 2020-21 Ghana Premier League season. The deal was announced at a ceremony at the club secretariat today. My colleague Muftad Nabila Abdullah was there and files this report.
The one-season sponsorship agreement signed is for the 2020-2021 football season. The deal is worth 360,000 Ghana cedis in cash and 10,000 Ghana cedis in products. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, most corporate institutions are financially handicapped and have not been forthcoming with financial support for clubs or other federations. Vice President of Inter Allies Football Club, Dalali Senaye, told Joy Sports they were lucky to have secured the agreement.
We are very excited about this partnership, and we hope that more will come to support Inter Allies and other clubs. I would say that we were very lucky to get this opportunity, and we thank God for it. But however, I think Arcadia, that is Tampico, is looking for this opportunity. They were looking for a team that has the presence on social media. And as I said in my speech, we are just behind two clubs when it comes to social media. We are very active and vibrant.
Despite the financial package agreed between the two parties, Mr. Senaye added that the money will only solve half of Inter Allies' problems as their wage bill is twice that amount.
We are seeing COVID and things are not easy. Our wage bill for players and technical team is just 2 times the amount Arcadia is giving us. So it means that they have solved half of our problems. So this relationship is timely, and we must thank God for this love they have, God has extended to us by getting Tampico to come on board and support us. So we think that we'll be able to sustain this relationship to get more, to enable us to satisfy our employees and players.
The club also announced Subbox Restaurant as another partner for the next 3 seasons with a financial package of 45,000 Ghana cedis. They are expected to provide the club with products for the next 3 years, and they will be embossed on the sleeves of the club jerseys.
It's a day for sponsorship talk on sport, and Asante Kotoko is next. They've signed a deal with electronics company Hisense, and that is worth 3 million Ghana cedis for 3 years. Now the sponsorship is both in kind and products, with Hisense already paying 500,000 Ghana cedis in cash into the account of the Porcupine Warriors. My colleague Asari Bediako was there and report.
Hisense is the official electronic sponsor of Kumasi Asante Kotoko after signing a 3-year partnership agreement with arguably the biggest football club in the country. The deal is the 8th sponsorship package under the Nonaya Amponsan-led management after deals with Instant, Vio, Next Level Energy Drink, among others. Revealing details of the Hisense partnership, Kotoko CEO Nonaya Amponsa thanked the electronic giant for coming to the aid of the club in the wake of COVID-19.
Hisense are giving Kotoko 3 million cedis in cash and products over a course of 3 years. In this COVID era, institutions, many businesses are struggling. Even pre-COVID, it wasn't easy to get an institution to invest such a huge sum of money into football in our.
Congratulations to Inter Allies and Asante Kotoko. Hopefully we see more. And that's it for the sport here on Joy News. For those of you on Joy Prime, that's the end of the news. But if you're on Joy News, we're having some more after this batch of commercials. I'm Gary Alsmith. Bye-bye.
And our top story for this evening here on Joy News Prime is the resignation of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. There's been lots of reactions. Let's get on to Facebook now and see some of the reactions that you have posted there. So as you have it, Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu resigns. And there you go. Guys, Casca says, guys, Martin Amidu has a lot on his chest. If the letter put out there is indeed authentic, then we shouldn't blame him for lack of action. He was set up to fail from the onset. I'm just surprised he didn't see it. Manasseh Azuri rightly said he was surprised Martin Amidu hadn't realized the president was the one sabotaging and stifling the work of the office of the special prosecutor. I see a man who genuinely wanted to fight for his country but was left alone in this gargantuan fight. He failed because the public and the media didn't offer him enough support to him. And then Ibrahim says, but seriously, I like his decision on his resignation. Government officials are victims of this Ijapa royalties deal and therefore calling him to prevent him doing his work. As a special prosecutor, and he can't disappoint the current MPP government since they are victims of this. This tells you the level of corruption in this country. And then Bayo comes in and says, this is the time we should be asking ourselves, how well is the foundation of this country laid? It is so weak to the extent that from the top to the bottom, all is rotting. And they know what they are hiding behind to protect themselves. The laws and the constitution are all well drafted for their own protection and well-being. Don't forget the society itself is corrupting and corrupt as well. If not, our chiefs, priests, pastors, elders, and other eminent ones in society wouldn't go behind the scenes to plead for people who are guilty to be punished by the law. Hence, today, you see some of them walking freely as if nothing has happened, and they pretend blaming one another as if they are fighting for our interests, but only God knows what they are up to. Well, in some other news, former President Jerry Rawlings has been praised for his role in setting the tone for a peaceful and united democratic Ghana. This is according to dignitaries who have been signing a book of condolence opened in his honor at the Accra International Conference Center as preparations get underway for a state funeral for Ghana's longest-serving leader in modern history. Joynews editor Fred Smith spent the day at the conference center in our report.
A wet day depicting the mood as a book of condolence is opened in honor of Jerry Rawlings, the man credited with democratic rule in Ghana. A complete somber and the feeling of sadness caps the atmosphere here at the Accra International Conference Center, where a desk with a portrait of the former president in his signature fugu over a white shirt, flowers and the Ghana flag to welcome dignitaries scheduled for the signing. The Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Mike Okwe, Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, and former President John Mahama, who worked under Mr. Rawlings as a deputy minister, led the pack of dignitaries to sign the book. Others are the UN Deputy Secretary General Abina Mohammed, former Foreign Minister Hannah Tete, prominent lawyer and Council of State member Sam Okujeto, who also signed the book.
Because this country needs reconciliation. Political so-called opponents are not enemies. And when we see people demonstrating and doing vandalism in the name of politics, it is sad. We should take a cue from him. The way he reconciled with our current president. That is something that all of us should learn to copy. Ghanaians are Ghanaians. Tribe is completely irrelevant. You see, he's an Ewe, he's an Angloman. He was married to an Asante princess. Isn't that something for all of us to learn to understand? That we are one nation, with one people, with one destiny. This is the legacy I think that Jerry John Rawlings has left for all of us. And so let's propagate it. You are from the media. Propagate it. Tell us that we don't have enemies in Ghana. Nobody is an enemy. We are all Ghanaians. You have one way of thinking. I have another way of thinking. It does not make me right and you wrong. Nor you right and me wrong. Some people say that all the fingers are not the same. But you can see that no single finger can do any work without the others. Each is supportive of the other. And this is what nation building is all about. So we need peace and tranquility. Let's bury him with the dignity that he deserves.
Thank you very much, sir. Speaking about the burial, we should take precedent. The state, the party.
He is a former president of Ghana. It is the state's responsibility. But the state, of course, will deal with the consultation with the family. But it is the state's responsibility. Sometimes I have to caution people to appreciate that when you are elected into a position, you become public property. You are no longer your own. You are no longer your own. It is public property. Yes. And I'm not speaking, holy, I'm not speaking for the Council of State. I'm speaking as a Ghanaian.
Prominent lawyer and Council of State member Sam Okujato, who also signed the book, shared his fond memories of the former president despite his long-standing disagreement with him over the coups. Minority Leader in Parliament Haruna Idrisu led a pack of MPs to sign the book.
My heart is still heavy, and my heart.
There's a camera.
Rawlings, and to the family of the late Jerry John Rawlings. I'm still recovering from a devastated grief, but I've come to eulogize him as Ghana's ever youngest president and Ghana's ever longest serving president. That is what history has for him as president of our republic. The youngest to be president of our republic and the highest to have ruled and governed our country. If our democracy flourishes as it promises to, every other head of state or president will have a maximum 8-year tenure. No more, no less. Jerry Rawlings ruled this country for 19 years, 8 years constitutionally, and some 11 years under military rule. But it is to his credit that he navigated Ghana from what writers have described as its political abyss in the words of Shillington and Ali Mazuri and Aye and Jima Bwedu, to modern day constitutional democratic Ghana under multi-party constitutional democracy. So probably you are right in saying that he started off without respecting rights and freedoms as is akin to multi-party constitutional democratic era. But he ended a democratic leader, not manipulating the electoral system, not manipulating the constitution, and not manipulating the political system to his favor or the favor of his political party. History will remember and honor him as a remarkable public servant who sought the public good of our country And his death must inspire young people, including me, not to aspire to political office because of the perks of office and the opportunity to want to enrich ourselves at the disadvantage of the state, and that our inspiration to public service must at all times be for the public good. That is what I remember him for. He laid a solid foundation for the political, social, and economic reforms of our country. At least he liberalized the economy, even though he was not an avowed believer in laissez-faire market economics and its politics. He liberalized our political landscape, respecting fundamental human rights and freedoms and liberties. And he liberated our social and economic space through infrastructure, whether it's rural electrification or fighting to end Guinea worm. History will remember him for making an unparalleled contribution to the development of Ghana.
Kofi Sam Mills, who is also son of late former President Professor John Evans Atta Mills.
We apologize for the loss in the video there, but a close confidant of late President Rawlings, Dr. Benjamin Kumbo, has revealed that the deceased statesman's greatest regret was the level of corruption seen in Ghana despite the bloody revolution that brought him to power. According to Dr. Kumbo, President Rawlings named some NDC members he says were committing the same crimes others were executed for during the June 4 uprising. He says the former president was angered by this.
I think that was his biggest Achilles heel, because any time we met, after talking, the conclusion would always be, Ben, you people remember that people paid the ultimate price for 1/10 of what is going on today. Most of our comrades, good ones, lost their life in the process of both June 4th and 31st December. And that is his regret. Because there is nothing to show that the people really died for Ghana to be a better place from the indications of what was happening. That has always been a very passionate, and he was a bit more, he was angrier where he perceived that some of these things were taking place within his own political party. That was his biggest problem. Because I've been telling people, if you don't draw, you don't take the pathway of his reasoning. I came as head of the system. We shot and killed people perhaps for taking 500 cedis loan from a bank. We did this to this person. We did this to this person. In the process, there were attempts to overthrow the government. Soldiers in the front line got shot and were killed. We those who survived it till today, is that the best we can do? By going back to those very, very things. This is where his biggest problem has always been.
Especially with this party.
Yes.
The full interview airs tonight at 8 p.m. on Joy Prime, on the Joy Prime Current Affairs show on the record, so it should be happening about now. Now, the year 2020 was dubbed the year of roads by the President Akufo-Addo government. Though some roads have either seen a facelift or been newly constructed, many others are yet to benefit from the initiative. One such, the Bubiashi-Dakuman stretch, is on our radar today. Commuters who ply that road want government to fix it. Here's Obatampa Asan Abuaje's report read to you.
Holes, bad, bumpy stretch. That's the nature of the Bubuashi-Dakuman Road. A stretch that should ideally have taken less than 2 minutes to cross now takes about 7 to 10 minutes. Drivers who ply this route have to slowly wade through the potholes or risk losing a bumper.
Madam,
the road is not good at all. A trip that could last you 30 minutes now takes 3 hours. Because you have to slow down because of the potholes. The road is so bad, you can even check the road at Hansonic. It is so bad. If that road is part of the One Village, One Down, then the president should tell us. The president promised year of roads, and we cannot see a single construction around.
Drivers who ply this road say the frequent breakdown of their vehicles is affecting their source of livelihood. They are therefore appealing and hoping that this road will be fixed by the end of 2020.
I remember my exhaust, not too long ago, my exhaust, because of the nature of the road, because my car is very down. So at the end of the day, I have to take it to a fitting shop so that the welders will have to work on it. Hey, you use money. You have to use money. So far as money that I have to use for something else, I have to go and use that money to repair a car which I have not planned. So it's really bothering. When you say you pay free SHS for us, and at the end of the day, the monies that we have to save, the road is destroying our vehicle. Where we have to go, we are not able to go on time. Then we are still marking time, and that is what I have to say. Government should really come and maintain our roads for us.
With bated breath and fingers crossed, Joynews is keeping tabs on this road to see if their concerns will be addressed. Obatampa Asa Abuajes reports for Joynews.
Former President of the Ghana Bar Association, Paul Edujemfi, has reiterated the need for the country to train more lawyers if a fair and just society is to be achieved. He says the notion of a glut in the training of lawyers must be discounted, while a special fund is set aside to train lawyers. He spoke at a ceremony to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Ghana School of Law, Kumasi. Prince Apia has more.
The commemoration of the 10 years of the existence of the Ghana School of Law, Kumasi, brought together members of the Ghana Bar Association and all students. Over 500 lawyers have graduated from the Kumasi campus since its inception 10 years ago. Former president of the Ghana Bar Association, Paul Edujemfi, says more lawyers need to be trained. He suggested a special fund to promote legal training and encourage research in law.
We rather need to train more lawyers in our search for a just and fair society in Ghana. We salute the founding fathers for their vision to open up the Kumasi campus and hope that our overstretched lecturers will continue to give their best to make an enduring dream possible. A fund should be set up as a matter of urgency to promote legal education and training in Ghana. A fund that will ensure the construction and maintenance of infrastructure and encourage research in law and motivate lecturers.
Chief Justice Kwesi Enim-Yeboah revealed the General Legal Council will ensure full implementation of its legal authority in enrolling only students who obtain LLB degree from universities approved by the council.
The review and development of the curricula, method of instruction, and the admission procedures of all the approved universities running the LLB program. Simultaneously, the General Legal Council will also ensure the full implementation of its legal authority to enroll only students who obtained their LLB certificates from universities approved by the council. All institutions offering the LLB program will undergo a more rigorous screening process before they are approved. The criteria for assessment will include the types of programs, academic staff and qualifications, student-lecturer ratio, library holdings, physical facilities, among others. Mentoring and inspection exercise will also be intensified from time to time.
Meanwhile, the Kumasi campus is challenged with lack of basic infrastructure. The construction of a permanent site for the school has been proposed. Prince Apia reporting.
You're watching Joynews Prime. We're taking a quick break. Do stay tuned in. Right, and that'll be all for Joynews Prime for this evening. Up next, we're bringing you our Hotline documentary. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.